Welcome back to Channel 5 News. I'm your host, Dominic Geloisi with
Anna Howell, and today we're going to be talking about juveniles and mental health.
Wow, that sounds interesting. So, what exactly is a juvenile?
A juvenile is someone under the age of 18. So in terms of the criminal justice system, juveniles are kept in juvenile centers, while adult offenders would be kept in jails or prisons.
Well, I do have a question. Are these juvenile centers well equipped to rehabilitate these offenders?
So here in Illinois, we actually have 5 main government-run youth centers. They all offer different forms of therapy, one-on-one, family therapy, group therapy, but a lot of the programs actually differ, which, makes a wide variance for how these youth are actually rehabilitated.
That's quite interesting, Anna. So you would think that all these centers would have the same types of programs. How do these therapists help rehabilitate the youth?
Funny you should mention that. We actually have a licensed therapist in the house, Stephen Howell.
Oh, how awesome.
All right, so Steve, how long have you been a practicing psychotherapist?
I graduated with my master's in counseling psychology in 2013, and so I've been a therapist for 7 years.
All right, Stephen, so on average, how many juveniles do you see?
I see a couple of teenagers typically on my caseload at any given time.
Do you think that if children had better access to, mental health assistance, do you think it could prevent some delinquency?
I think there's several different ways that we could work with young people before things get out of hand with oppositional and defiant disorder and conduct disorder.
So for those who don't know, conduct disorder is a behavior disorder where a child could be antisocial or frequently disregard social rules, participate in delinquent behavior, or be violent towards others. So Stephen, have you ever had any younger clients who have been involved in the system?
I have had a few clients, young clients that were in the legal system and because of criminal acts. Usually it's been more about destruction of property and defiance towards authority, and but they can be helped if they want the help.
Now, would you say that cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, would be the best course of action for a youth that's been involved in the system?
That's a good question. They often need, it depends on the individual what they might need for treatment. CBT is definitely important to deal with maladaptive thinking and beliefs, as well as, of course, actions. But it depends on the person. Sometimes family therapy is most productive because the family shows concern and they're willing to work with the child. Some people with that were adopted, we find also often fit into these categories. There is what we call adoption wounds, and that can cause a lot of trouble with the teenager's life as well as the family.
So what do you think that youth facilities can do better to help rehabilitate their youth?
I do think that often these juveniles are written off, and partly because there's been a lack of research by the nature of antisocial thinking and behavior in teens and adults. So in order to try to reach all of these kids, we have to understand, is there trauma that needs to be dealt with? There's always going to be family conflict which needs to be taken care of. But if somebody starts to feel like there's sympathy or empathy coming towards them, some of them will be able to soften up a little bit and start becoming a little more responsible.
Thank you, Stephen. This has been a phenomenal interview. But before you go, I have one more question to ask you. Do you think group therapy would be beneficial in this scenario?
Group therapy can be very helpful for many people in with dealing with these issues, hopefully before they get into the system. Often trauma needs to be dealt with, self-esteem needs to be buffered, and it needs to welcome them into this therapeutic alliance that they can start to feel like somebody's on their side versus against them. And that is therapeutic rapport, which is one of the most difficult things to do, especially with somebody that age, but it can be done especially in a group setting.
Wow, Stephen, this has been a great interview. I've learned so much already.
You have been checking into Channel 5 News. I hope to see you in the gym tomorrow, and we are checking out. Good night.